Hey everybody, John Craig here with Performance Plus Tennis. In today's video, we're going to detail the swing technique on the serve. And I've seen so many different variations of swing technique and what players are doing at the recreational level. But what surprises me most is that when I take the racket out of their hand and say throw the ball, most of the time they show me a beautiful throwing motion. But the challenge is they're unable to actually insert that into the serve. And then therefore their serve is just broken. And in today's lesson, we're going to detail the swing technique, help you improve it, and then also give you some tips on how to get it to apply to the serve itself, ultimately to improve your serve performance. So when it comes to swing technique on the serve, I think that many recreational players overthink the technique and don't rely on what feels comfortable and natural, something that perhaps they've already learned in another sport. And in this case, it would be the throwing motion. So I see so many different variations. You see things where the elbow is pointing forward. You see when the elbow is up high. And you see all these different movements. You see when the elbow is down low. And then I say, would you throw a ball for me? And I put a ball in their hand and they'll put their elbow right in this position here. And then they'll throw from that. And I'll go, well, there is your motion. So, and they're like, oh, really? That's my serve motion? Yeah, that is your serve motion. So if you can throw a ball well, you can definitely develop a good serving motion. It's very, very similar. There's some subtle differences, but for the most part, the technique, the pattern, and the movement is really very much the same. Now, some of the things that we see out there that we've got to make adjustments on is we've got to get the elbow in a position where it's generally in line with your shoulder angle. So you've got a good alignment here. If the elbow's high, and you see this all the time where the arms go up and the elbow gets high, now you cannot use this part of the arm from the shoulder to the elbow to create any movement because it's already up there. So players that have high elbows generally are searching for power from the elbow to the hand, and they do a movement that's called breaking the plane of the body. So you'll see a lot of this kind of thing, like a lasso, because they're trying to get range of motion and power, but it's weak. So if you sequence your movement correctly and you watch the throwing motion again, when you're throwing, what's the sequence of movements is shoulder rotation, and then the upper arm from the shoulder to the elbow, and then the elbow to the hand. And it's that sequencing that creates the racket head speed or the throwing power. So if your elbow's high, you no longer can do that. So it's really important that you do not have a high elbow because it makes a swing awful. It makes the swing want to go like this because the elbow's way up here, okay? The other issue you see sometimes, but not as often, is you see low elbows. And actually, if I were going to choose one over the other, I'd probably go low. Because if my elbow were low, at least I would have this part of my arm to throw upward, and I could create motion from there. So I could definitely still serve with that. But it does make the sequencing of the movement less natural and more complicated. So ideally, you're going to get the elbow so that it's in a nice alignment with the shoulder line, just like this, just like you're throwing a ball. And my friend Jeff Salzenstein called this elbowing the enemy, just thinking that the enemy's behind you and your elbow's pointing straight on back in that position. And that is the natural position where you can create a throwing motion that's going to create a lot of power for you. So very, very important that you get that elbow pointing back in line with your shoulders. That's the place where you can create the most power. Other elbow problems we see, and this relates sometimes to the grip and so forth, we'll see players that'll have their elbow in front the whole time. So if you start with your serve this way and your elbow never gets behind you, how are you going to get rotational power to throw? Well, you can't. So, and that somewhat feeds into the grip. So if you don't have a continental grip, you're definitely not going to have the appropriate swing. It's very rare that you can swing properly with a forehand grip. Most of the time what you're going to end up doing is leading this way with the elbow, not being able to use this part, and you're just going to go this way and swing from the elbow to the hand. If you were to do this with the forehand grip, you would not be able to control the ball. So make sure you have a continental grip. Make sure you get your elbow in alignment, elbow that enemy, and if you struggle with this, just get out and throw balls. And film that and take a look at your throwing motion and make sure that that throwing motion looks natural and is comfortable, and then try to insert that into your serve. You might be thinking now, John, I have a really good throwing motion, but I don't use it in my serve. How can I solve this problem? Well, the problem is that most of the time we're trying to modify our swing to hit a ball that we haven't placed well. So, for example, if I toss the ball too high, I might have to wait for it. I might do something like that. If it's over low, I might go like this. Because when we're playing, we desire to get the ball in the box. So we instinctively make whatever adjustments or modifications we need to get the end result, getting the ball in the box. But that doesn't help develop the skill. So the ideal thing for you to do is to just put the ball away and understand the choreography of your serve, the movement pattern of your serve, the movement, the timing, the feel, and keep practicing that. So I know my movement, right? And if you need to film, and keep working on that until you really feel that it's well coordinated and just feels supernatural, right? Then place the ball into your serve. Now, this is where we go wrong. Most of us, when we place the ball up, will change this movement that we've just created to hit the ball. So I'm going to intentionally not place the ball into my swing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my movement exactly the same. See that? See, where most players go wrong is they go, oh, ball's over there. Oh, I got to go get it. I got it in. I got the ball in. I'm happy, but you didn't really perform well, right? So just keep doing this until you ultimately place the ball right into your swing pattern and don't change a thing. And you just have to be committed to that in practice so that when you get into a match, you're more skillful at placing the ball right into your natural movement. And that's going to really help you make that transition from a great throwing motion to inserting it into your serve. Thanks so much for watching today's lesson. Get out there and work on your motion and focus on the position of your elbow and apply your throwing motion to your serve. And that's really going to improve your serve performance. Please give us a like, leave your comments down below, subscribe to the channel if you've not done so already. And if you want to learn more and dive deeper into your serve, click on the link in the description down below to get my free mini course on the key principles you need to master to achieve your full potential with your serve. Thanks so much for watching today's video, and we'll see you in the next lesson.